us in a moment of silence. Thank you. Going to start off with item number 1, citizens' concerns. Anything that is not on the agenda that would like to be spoken to at this meeting? All right, seeing nothing, we're going to move on to the approval of the agenda. I'll move that.
Second.
Motion by Raddick, second by Ung. Any discussion on the agenda? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Passes 5-0. Move on to the consent agenda. Items 3 through 5 constitute a consent agenda, routine action items to be considered by one motion. Items pass unanimously unless a separate vote is requested by a board member. Item 3, approval of the minutes of the March 19th, 2019 meeting. Item 4, approval of claims. Item 5 from Board Administration. A, approval of resolution approving petition for suspension of taxes through redemption process for GN. And B, approval of resolution for tax suspension for CC. I will move the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion by Raddick, second by Ung. Any further discussion on those items? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And sorry, I meant to say passes 4-0. I didn't realize Rocky was not here.
He's here, you just can't see.
Yeah, I heard he hurt his knee, and I didn't realize that made him invisible. Item 6, human resources. Item A, authorize an additional part-time courthouse safety and security officer.
I'm Melissa Thomas, Human Resources Director. I'm here to, and on behalf of the Sheriff's Department, to ask for another part-time courthouse security officer. Currently, they have at least 2, if not another, employee out. And when you have a part-time employee that doesn't get any benefits, we can't work the other courthouse security officers too much, or they will become benefit eligible, which is not in their budget. So we are asking to approve for another part-time position.
Is this going to need a sunset on it, or would it be manageable within the budget?
It'd be nice to keep the person just because of some of the issues that we're having with some of the ones that work up there now. We still work on a number of hours and not people, so
Sure,
we're only
okay.
filling hours.
You're not increasing hours, you just need a body to fill those hours.
All right, I'll go ahead and move that.
Second.
Motion by Raddick, second by Potabom. Any further questions or discussion on this item? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Passes 5-0. Moving on to B, authorize the hiring of sheriff deputy that was approved for the 1920 fiscal year.
We're asking for the ability to hire the new deputy on a little earlier than July 1st. There's only 2 spots right now in the ILEA program. That is to begin on April 29th. If they go ahead and hire this gentleman early, then he'll be ready to go by December. If they wait until July 1st, he won't be ready to go till the following May. So they do have this in their budget to go ahead with the early retirees and some other deputies, then with the backfill and the less pay it is, allow them to have this in their budget. So.
Was that?
This comes through a vacancy of 2 deputies did leave, so they had money in the budget to cover the 19,000 without a budget limit.
So you're saying fiscally it's responsible still?
Yes.
Okay. So a motion by Potabom, I'll second that. Any other discussion on the item? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Passes 4-0. Move on to C, authorization to initiate hiring process. That's for,
Well, we just had to do the other items first before we did this motion to
Okay.
make sure that that was approved.
so I'll move that.
Second.
Motion by Raddick, second by Ung. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Moving on to D, memorandum of personnel transactions. I'll move that. Do I have a second?
Second.
Getting to think that was controversial. Motion by Raddick, second by Taylor. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Passes 4-0. Moving on to E, approval to reinstate 32 hours of vacation for secondary roads employee MP. And do you want to clarify for everyone on that?
I do. It is actually less than 32 hours that he'll be over as of April 1st, his anniversary date. So we won't have to instate so many, I think it's like 17.92. Apparently, he was allowed a little bit of vacation along the way, so I just wanted to clarify that. And Mark really needs the manpower, and this coming week, he really needs everybody there. So he's asked that we allow him to carry some of that over on his anniversary.
Should we change how it's worded then in our motion, or
What do you think, Joshua?
just to make the individual whole instead of putting a specific hour amount?
You know what they are?
I think it's going to be like 17.92 hours.
And the motion up to 18 be
That would be good.
a good idea, okay.
Is that okay, Mark?
I'll move that.
Second.
All right, motion by Ung, second by Taylor. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Passes 4-0. Thank you, Melissa. Moving on to secondary roads. Item A, receive bids for project number CP2019 and return them to the county engineer for review and recommendation.
This is our annual corrugated metal pipe culvert bid. This involves the bid for purchase of stock for use throughout the year, plus the purchase of project culverts that we put in that are identified for specific locations.
Sounds tubular.
It is, exactly. And I've got bid tab sheets if you guys want to keep track.
I got one laugh.
I knocked you off.
Well deserved.
I don't know how he gets through security with these knives he brings in here, too.
That's furnishing the house.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Karen takes care of me now since I can't get through with my little pocket knife anymore. The first one is from Contact Engineers Solutions of Ankeny, Iowa. I'll just read off total bid price, and then if we see a couple that are close, we'll take a harder look at it. $137,693.79. 137,693.79. Next one is from Illoa Culvert and Supply of Lowmore, Iowa. Total bid price, $170,711.80. Boy, I don't like the way those two are going. Next one is from Metal Culverts of Jefferson City, Missouri.
Rather than Maryville, Missouri.
They have a number of plants. It depends on
Which one's shipping?
office was mailed a proposal to deal with. $116,239.61. 116,239.61. And finally, from True North Steel of Huron, South Dakota. We're appreciative of having a couple new bidders this year. True North Steel and folks out of Lowmore hadn't bid here. Lowmore used to bid for me a lot in eastern Iowa, but Illoa's got a disadvantage with shipping distance out here usually. Total bid price, $123,102.19.
So you think the Husker Steel was maybe not, was that affected by the flooding or not, or?
I can't tell you for sure. What city are they in?
Columbus, Nebraska. Because I thought we've had pretty low bids from them in the past, but
I don't think we only had 2 bidders last year, if I remember correctly, and that was Contech and Metal Culverts. Metal Culverts was low. We
Okay.
have seen Husker in the past, but they haven't always been a regular bidder for us.
So do you want time to review before a recommendation?
Well, I'm going down over their unit prices right now.
Either way, we have to receive those, so I'll move to receive
Right.
them.
Second.
Any discussion on receiving them? And all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Passes 4-0.
Metal Culverts is clearly low on all but one item, and that one item is not enough to throw the rest of them out of balance. So I would recommend that we award the culvert contract CP 2019 to Metal Culverts.
I'll move that.
Second.
Motion by Raddick, second by Young. Any further discussion on that? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Passes 4-0. Item B, okay, that was B, I guess then, huh? Item C, consider approval of 2 project agreements, 19-6, 19-7 with the Hungry Canyons Alliance for stream stabilization projects.
We filed 2 applications with Hungry Canyons this year for projects. They're both reinforcing and providing grade control on the outlet of 2 box culverts in the county. We were successful in receiving those grants. I recommend approval of agreement number 19-6 and 19-7 for outlet treatments on 2 county box culverts.
Is it best to do these together, Pat, or should we do?
Yes.
Okay, I'll move it.
Second.
All right, motion by Raddick, second by Young. Any further discussion on the item? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, passes 4-0. Moving on to D, approval of the 2019 revised Woodbury County procurement policy.
Last year with our FEMA bridge that was damaged in the course of flooding in July, this is the Mason Avenue Bridge, Bridge K46. One of the things we had to do was submit a series of financial and policy issues to Iowa Homeland Security and Emergency Management Division in Des Moines. One of the things they noted was that our 2002 policy on procurement did not address some of the changes in either policy or law, I'm not sure which to tell you right now, that have occurred since 2002. One of those is that we actively recruit disadvantaged and minority and women businesses for work being done by the county, if they are available in the work class that we are bidding. This new policy that we have prepared for the board, Joshua reviewed it. I worked with Michelle on this earlier on. I see her back there behind me. And she's familiar with this from her time as emergency manager at the county because it's been called upon before for these type things. And this is a policy update for future audit that complies with their regulations. They let us go through last time, but I'm sure when we start, we just got our federal declaration on Saturday for the damage we incurred in this most recent flood. I'm sure we'll be submitting the same paperwork to them shortly. I recommend approval of the new contract.
I'll move that.
Second.
Motion by Raddick, second by Young. Any other discussion on the item? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Passes 4-0.
This requires both the signature of the chair and the county auditor.
Okay. Mark, can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
You There was something that the board just did recently to trigger something to do with those drainage ditches as far
That's
as
correct.
assessments. Is that going to affect when we get those assessments for this year in order to get them out? Because we're current on, I mean, assessments are in the current year, right?
Right.
Is that going to affect the ability for us to get those out this year?
It shouldn't. I will try and get an estimate of the expenses so that I can add them on to next year's
Okay,
levies. We'll try and get them on if we can, so that they're paid, and then we won't accrue interest in those. We're working with just one consultant, so they should have a pretty good idea of how many hours they are going to have in. As we speak, they are already inspecting those drainage districts. Today, they were going out and doing run alongside districts with, just a side-by-side gator, trying to get where they could in the fields. Areas that they can't get to, they're going to explore with a drone. They felt like within the next couple of weeks, we would have a repair estimate and a report on the amount of damage done within the drainage districts. We had reports of damage within the Wolf Creek and Weber Creek districts at this point in time. Wolf Creek has some debris cleanup, a couple of overtop dikes. Weber Creek has some partial dike failures where we've had slips on the inside of the channel. I'm sure there's more out there as they fully get explored. That's what I was able to find from the roadside.
all right.
That's Category D work, what the federal government call that, which is water control facilities. And that work hasn't been authorized yet, so we're still going to be out ahead of that federal authorization of monies to make those repairs.
How does that affect them, if you're getting federal dollars and what's going to be assessed to property owners? And that?
That will be tough because those we're going to have to let blind, basically. That work will be done probably after the commencement of fiscal year 2020. So I don't know that I'll have adequate estimates in place to be able to take a guess as to what the value of those damages will be. We'll have to levy for those in 2021. We'll be able to cover at least the inspection expenses, I think, with the fiscal year 2020 levy.
Okay. And Michelle, I think you and Mark have talked about the timing or with the Tyler project and that sort of thing.
What, you have to have those by the May 31st, or what's the date?
For those assessments,
Levies, yes.
I was asked to get them turned in this year by April 30th.
And that's still doable with the flooding and
Well,
the
we just
assessments
won't
you think?
include any of the flood repair in those levies for
Okay.
next year. We'll get everything we can in this year's levy, which I think will be up to the inspection. But I don't think I'm going to be able to anticipate what the repair costs will be. You'll have to release warrants and then repay those warrants in fiscal
Okay.
year 2021.
All right, thank you,
I think
appreciate it.
that's just, yeah, we're not proposing slowing anything down as far as getting those levies out as requested to work
All
with
right.
this switch over from HT to Tyler.
All right, thank you, appreciate it.
All right, moving on to 8A. Authorize chairman to sign memorandum of understanding with New Cooperative, Inc.
Good evening, Supervisors. David Gleiser, Community Economic Development Director. This item requests the board to authorize the chairman to sign a memorandum of understanding between New Cooperative Incorporated and the county for an expansion of the new co-op grain handling facility in rural Anthon. Just a little background, in 2012, the county created an urban renewal area and tax increment financing district for Platinum Grain LLC. The county entered into a development agreement with Platinum Grain for the construction of a new grain handling facility. And in 2017, New Co-op acquired Platinum Grain and all of its assets. And per the terms of the original development agreement between Woodbury County and Platinum Grain, New Cooperative was eligible to receive the remaining tax increment rebate payments owed to Platinum Grain as its successor. In June of 2017, the board passed Resolution 12,580, which assigned the development agreement and transferred all remaining tax increment rebate payments to New Cooperative. This MOU is simply designed to help reinforce and clarify the framework in which the remaining tax increment rebate payments will be made out to New Cooperative for an additional expansion. The company is proposing a $4.35 million expansion. It's estimated that the project will add $2.2 to $2.8 million to our assessed property tax value on this parcel, and it will generate an additional $48,000 to $60,000 in property taxes annually. Staff recommendation is to approve the memorandum of understanding and authorize the chairman to sign.
I will move that.
Second.
Any other discussion or questions on this item? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Passes 4-0. Moving on to B, approval of construction permit application and master matrix evaluation for the Star Finisher Farm confinement feeding operation.
Last month, on the 1st of March, the Iowa DNR notified Woodbury County regarding the construction application for the Star Finisher Farm confinement feeding operation in eastern Woodbury County. The proposed location for this confinement feeding operation is east of Anthon and south of Cushing over in Rock Township. Once constructed, the total number of animal unit capacity for this confinement is going to be 2,000, which is 5,000 head of swine finishers, which does meet the master matrix evaluation requirement. Per the board's resolution, the board must conduct an evaluation of every construction permit application for a proposed confinement feeding operation using the master matrix. In reviewing the application, staff published a public notice for having received the application. We met with representatives from Select Farms, who are also in attendance this evening. And we did go on site and conduct a site visit with the DNR and some of the local operators. And we evaluated and scored the application using the master matrix. And in doing so, we came up with the same score as the applicant. We received no public comment from the time that we received the application until today. And at this point, staff recommends the board approve the application. And at this point, I would give the opportunity to Select Farms, if you would like to make any comment, you may. To be quite honest with you, we had a site visit with the DNR, and this particular location is very well suited for an operation of this magnitude. Really, the only person out there for neighbors is an individual who plans to work the operation. So there's really nobody out there that it could bother, and based on everything that we've seen in the application and in their literature, the company's literature on these operations, we don't feel like there will be any negative impact to the neighborhood or that community. So,
I'd move to approve the application, authorize the chairman to sign the board scoring recommendation letter to the DNR.
I'll second it. A motion by Taylor, second by Radig. Any other discussion on the item? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That passes 4-0. Moving on to item C, authorize chairman to sign a memorandum of understanding with the city of Hornick for floodplain management assistance. I can't all get it. I'll just go ahead and move it.
Second.
Any other questions or discussions on that?
Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
David, can you update the board a little bit as far as your conversations with Mayor Scott Mitchell in the last 48 hours?
Sure. And so really, what this agreement is doing is just codifying the board's approval to allow county staff provide some assistance in the city of Hornick. And in the last week, just from this last weekend, we've been down there. Dan and I have been down there. We've been meeting with the mayor, the city clerk, and the councilman. We had a conference call with Bill Capuccio, who is the state national flood insurance program coordinator for the Iowa Department of Natural Resources. So he is the person in the state of Iowa to go to for NFIP questions for floodplain assistance. And we've developed a floodplain development permit for the city of Hornick. We've helped them establish a process for review and approval. And so now the city is in the process of having all the residents affected by the flood who are in the floodplain fill out a floodplain development permit, get a cost estimate for the damages to bring it to its pre-flood condition. And we are working with basically any state or federal or local agency who can provide assistance at this time. So what we're trying to do is coordinate the resources into the community during a time when people are going to be available to go in and ask questions. There's a little bit of confusion right now because of the presidential declaration's been made and how that affects the local state resources. From what I'm understanding, they don't want people sort of double dipping into both. And so if you accept assistance or in one program, you may not be eligible for a federal program. So we're really just trying to get that all sorted out. But for the most part, I think the recovery process in Hornick is well on its way. So
I just want to express appreciation. I got a call from Mayor Mitchell on Saturday night as far as wanting to know more of the process, and David was good on being responsive in his department, so
yeah.
appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome.
As well.
Yeah, and I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge Dan Priestley, County Zoning Coordinator. He's been extremely helpful and been a very good resource for the city clerk, as well as the mayor and myself. So.
Any other discussion on the item there? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Passes 4-0. D, approval of resolution to waive county fees associated with repair and redevelopment of the flood damaged property.
Anybody in a regulated floodplain is required to get a floodplain development permit in order to start making repairs, regardless of the amount of damage that the property has sustained, whether it's substantial or not. The floodplain development permit is administered through the Community Economic Development Department. The fee for that permit application is $110. It's our recommendation that we be allowed to go ahead and waive that fee administratively for individuals who are required to get that as part of the recovery process. And, I guess we would use our best judgment in terms of time sensitivity.
I would say there's got to be a sunset on this.
Yeah.
So, all right.
I'll move it.
Second, motion by Ung, second by Raddick. Any other questions?
Yeah, I have one for him. David, the process itself of filling out the permit application, are we going to make that as easy as possible for those people down there?
Yeah.
They're not going to have to drive up here to do it, are they?
Correct. So the county's Community Economic Development Department, we administer everything outside of city limits. So unincorporated rural Woodbury County, the city of Hornick actually participates in the National Flood Insurance Program themselves, and so they are responsible for administering it within their corporate boundaries. We've been there, we were just there yesterday, and we had a phone call with the state. We actually went through the floodplain development permit application item by item and asked, the state what's required, how can we make this simpler for folks? And so we've made a revised floodplain development permit for Hornick for the recovery, and so we're trying to make it as painless as possible.
Okay.
All right, any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Passes 4-0.
Joshua, thank you for your help with those.
Moving on to reports on committee meetings. Jeremy.
I have a Rolling Hills meeting tomorrow in which we'll discuss staffing ahead of time, and we'll do so with a couple of other supervisors and the CEO of the new region. As you may well know, the House file did pass in the House, I believe 83 votes, and the fiscal note on that, and I think this is noteworthy. The bill is estimated to cost the MHDS regions $3.3 million in FY20, $5.1 million in FY21. And that does not account for, private insurance doesn't cover the cost of residential crisis services as listed in the assumptions. Then it swells to $922,000 in FY '20 and $3.6 million additionally in FY '21. So because there's no funding other than potential Medicaid dollars, that to me is concerning, because that's looking at a cost of, to do a little bit of quick math, over $11 million. And if you portion that out for our region, looks like a sizable property tax increase, which may, again, be one of the reasons why that's exempt from property tax reform. So as these state mandates come down, we just all need to recognize where those dollars are going to be coming from. So that's all I have.
If I could just dovetail on that, if I remember correctly, only one region has anything set up on that area, so the startup costs is probably not included, which is another component.
All right,
Little
Matthew,
besides.
you want to take our region?
Sure. So Chairman Radig and I just attended Sioux Rivers. There was approval of the FY '20 annual service and budget plan, which we of course abstained on. There was a purchase of a replacement vehicle, which was done without Woodbury County funds. There is approval of a updated provider and program participation agreement with NWICC. It was procedural. Then there was an approval of a letter to Woodbury County, which Chairman Radig has with him
In the car.
which notifies Woodbury County formally that the staffing contracts effective June 30th of this year are done. So just procedure on all those positions, and that they will be at the behest of our new region. There was some goodbyes and some hellos with new staff and staff moving on. So anything you have to add?
The one thing that was maybe coded from Shane was that when we have our mutual divorce, he was bringing up the Triview facility and how he believes a lot of region funds were put into a remodel from there. So we might want to be prepared with any kind of history or background on that.
What's the end game? I mean, what's the,
He made a comment and just trying to read the tea leaves as he.
Well, Crisis Center staff were, of course, appreciative for the short term that there's been an agreement on the 75-25% funding. That's.
and am I understanding that there's a contract with Northwest Iowa Care Connections to use that as well? Is
Yeah,
that-
that's for I was talking for Triview.
No, I know.
Okay. Yeah, that's what he was
Opposed
doing,
to-
yeah.
Right. And so is that your understanding?
There's gonna be 3 regions using that facility.
And
And basically,
they'll be reimbursing on a,
Yeah, and
Oh, right.
they had to change it because, of course, Lyon County was leaving their region and going to Sioux Rivers anyway, so they had to remove them from that agreement anyway. So that's why I'm saying it's procedural. Marty, you have anything?
Nope.
At a Simcoe Policy Board meeting, nothing really pertaining to Woodbury County. It was mostly Plymouth and Lamar's and Ida. But that's for 2023 funding, so it's out there ways. Moving on to citizen concerns. No Tyler project today? I wanted to give you 2 chances since I forgot to give you 1 last week. Any other inquiring journal questions or? Moving on to board concerns, Jeremy. Matthew.
No.
What? You missed it. Just thought of something.
just really quickly, as you saw in the paper, the city council denied moving forward with MOU regarding the wastewater. That still leaves the Siouxland initiative that was, as I reported, spearheading some planning with McClure Engineering on several initiatives, not only, as you know, the IJR that they're working on and have an office here in town for, but potentially some work on mega site and a potential wastewater holistic overview for long-term planning. So as that potentially moves forward and those discussions are had, I'll keep you up to date. Sorry.
No, it's fine. I'm not, but is anyone else going on the DC chamber trip?
Yep.
Keith? No?
Nope. Marty?
Nope.
And I don't have anything, so we are adjourned.